All right, what is up, everybody? So, Shell Scout 0013 here, reporting in, and we've got Canadian Bear here who was at ACO. And I just kind of wanted to talk about ACO, his experience, what he did, and how he went since he's active in our Discord. He's, a moderator here, and I know he's active with Friday Night Fights and a whole bunch of other Discords. And it is really cool to see, you being a part of the entire community and how much you do. And so I really wanted to reach out and kind of ask how everything went because you went 4-1, which that's awesome. That's insane. So with as many people that were there and the fact that it was, a big open tournament. So I just kind of want to have you, start from the beginning. And as you talk about the games, you've sent me some photos that I'm going to have on a slideshow for everybody to kind of see as you're talking. So yeah, I'll let you have the floor now.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a great tournament. Brendan at Glorious Blasters did a great job running that. Had some help from another local. Dave was his other co-consular to help out with that. Um, and then it was really cool. We got to have Endless there streaming the event, which is that's crazy. The guy came up from your part of the country. He came up from Florida to come do this. um, but yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I went up Friday, uh, it checked in, and then helped up set up a little bit. What was left, hung out with some cool guys, and we were trying to figure out how to put some stuff together because it was all over the table and didn't seem to make much sense at first, but eventually it fit together.
Like the
Um,
terrain or minis or anything?
Terrain, yeah. There's one table I didn't get a picture of it. It was a like an imperial factory table, um, and it had a whole bunch of height 2 and almost like some height 3 terrain, but it had like scaffolding going from each one, and there was a lot of little bits and pieces that fit in just the right way to make it all come together, so it wasn't as cluttered as it looked coming out of the box. But no, it was cool. I got to play on Brendan's crazy Jedi Temple table, which was a lot of fun. It was nice getting to be the first one to get in on that.
Did you break it in for everybody?
Yes, we did it. We were the only ones to do this, um, where we were playing. We only played on the bridge portion, except for my single Echo Strike team. That was the only thing that was never on there. Um, so I'm sure it's like people have like seen in the pictures. There's my. I guess I should have gone over my list, but I can do that in a second. But we've got my Yoda Wookiees and clones sitting on one end, and then on the other end, we've got Commander Vader, Krennic, some Death Troopers, Snows, and um, three Dubecks charging at me, and we were doing a hostage exchange. So that, it was a lot to do on just such a narrow little piece of the board. Um, and yeah, so I guess I should probably go over my list. That would make sense, right? uh, yeah, I went with I went with my Yoda Wookiee list. So it's Yoda with barrier, push, mind trick, is just having flex of those new panic rules when it comes to interacting with objectives. Um, the phase one, I've got a phase one with a Z6 and a clone medic, a phase one with the RPS, phase one with Boyle, just a naked phase one, Echo Strike team, but with emergency or environmental gear, just not having to worry about in case he needs to mad dash to do uh, add some extra help, which did matter in my last game.
I was about to say it's a much cheaper jetpack for sure.
Yes. And essentially everyone has jump one right now if they want to slow down. So it totally makes sense. And then two of the Kashyyyk Defender Wookiees, the ranged Wookiees with bowcaster, offensive push, and targeting scopes. Um, and the name I gave to this list was "You underestimate my Wookiee saves, do you?" and that was absolutely the theme for 4 of my 5 games because my last game, my opponent did not, and he just went for them. Everyone else ignored them for the most part, would take a couple chip shots, but wouldn't really lay into them. They would just lay into the clones.
Yeah,
And
that's their first mistake. Trying to take out those Wookiees is super important. I mean, you built almost your list kind of around it besides Yoda.
mhm. Yeah, it's 12 health, so it's like either people think, "Oh, it's just non-surging white saves, whatever," or which one of those saves each time if Boyle's in the right spot is not going to be white. um, and with barrier on Yoda, the dodges from the 3 pips, and um, and the surges from those 3 pips also, and the one medic, which I almost never use the medic on a clone. I always use it to bring back a Wookiee on 1 health. Um, yeah, it's like
It gives you that
yeah,
extra
two
little.
extra white dice.
Hmm.
Here's 3. Start keeping the bowcaster alive for a little bit longer, set effectively. Um, and yeah, so yeah, and like I said, like the first opponent was like triple dewbacks, all with tenacity, and Death Trooper, the Compel guy or the DTF-16 Compel, and then Vader was there to be Vader. He's got push and burst, so he's ready to charge in. Um,
Yeah, but did you see a lot of Commander Vader over Operative Vader there?
oh, I had one of each. I know there was another Commander Vader because uh, John, who is not one of like my locals, but he's still local enough to me. Like I've gone to the store that he plays at more frequently in Jersey, and he was running a Commander Vader Blizzard, and he was on stream for those last 2 games on day 2. Um, and yeah, so that was first game, and it was intense because it was also limited vis. So for the most part, it was just like, okay, aim standby, dodge standby on both sides. Just who's gonna make the first push?
Yeah, I feel like that's tough because you've got Dewbacks and Vader coming in at you with limited viz, and yeah, albeit you are saving your Wookiees, but still having those red dice saves and trying to get some chip shots on those Dewbacks are important because yeah, their melee is insane.
Yeah, turn one dewback was off the board. Turn 2, second one was off the board, and the third one was almost dead. Um, but he had pinned down my hostage carrier, but Yoda was able to come in and force push one off, and trying to think, if something else had happened. I'm trying to remember now, but essentially my hostage was able to get away and just ran off the down the stairs and hopped off the edge and hit on the last turn. And yeah, Echo is the only thing not on that bridge, so he's just standing on the side, just taking pop shots, poking people from the side.
I was about to
What?
say, I guess they ignored him completely, didn't they?
Yeah, he wasn't a big deal. Death Troopers took one shot at one point, just because they've got range 4. They were pretty much the only long distance threat for me there. But yeah, that was, let's see, it was hostage. Yeah, that was hostage, limited, and hemmed in. So that's how we got stuck up on the board there. So, or up on the top there. Um,
So I was going to ask about that. I know that a lot of your army and his army was focused in on that middle, bridge, and I guess because of him, in that was just expected, or maybe were y'all? I guess hostage exchange with them in the middle. They're already up there, so if you were on the side, it wouldn't have mattered or done anything good, right?
right. I didn't get a picture, like an angle to like really show this off, but essentially what we had decided was if we had ended up on something like key positions, there's a pillar right underneath the center circle of that bridge, and that would be the key position. But if we ended on something like a recover or a hostage, it was going to be that top circle right there because otherwise you're trying to figure out how to best place it in the center where it's not too favoring the other player. Um, so we made the decision that if we ended up on something like that before, like uh, going and deployment and starting to like actually going through the battle deck that if we got to hostage or recover or something like that, it was going to be on the top there. And yeah, no, it was it was definitely nerve wracking for both of us staring each other down right in the center there.
Yeah, because you're both staring down each other's barrels,
Yeah,
and you both mostly have a lot of melee stuff, and so y'all are trying to get in. So I'm sure it was just a matter of dice rolling and luck.
Mhm.
You came out on
um,
top on that one. I mean, I guess the Wookiees really took care of those dewbacks since you said the dewback, like one of them was down the first round, another one was out basically the second round, and another one fully, well, not fully wounded, but wounded enough.
yeah, turn. Yeah, the last turn I had Vader was still engaged with 2 units, so my hostage could get away, and Yoda just waited for Vader to go first with Implacable. He went a second time. He took the wound, went a second time, so he was at about uh, five, 5 or 6, I think, out of his 8. Um, and but he didn't have, or he wasn't out of melee at that point because he just wanted to kill off units to hope that he could get to there, and he had the 2 dodges. And then Yoda put a standby on one of the full Wookiee unit, pushed Vader out, triggering the standby, and those Wookiees dealt the final wounds.
Man, I didn't
for
even think about doing guidance for standby on a unit that, is already gone close, and then they're going to act. Ah, man, that's a good trap to set for everyone.
he can't share standbys anymore, but he can certainly still make them.
That's still a really good strategy.
uh, yeah, the second round was against a gentleman named Vince. His or definitely had some like nervousness about this one just from it. So this was my second Vader, and this was Operative Vader with Imperial Officer and Din, T-21 Storm, and HH-12 Storm, a Medic Storm, and then 2 Ion Snows and 2 Sniper Strike teams. And then Vader had push and reflexes. Just with the barrier or the choke increase, he wanted to go for a little bit more survivability, and then he's got into the fray, tenacity, and then Din was also like situational awareness, recon. He's got the jetpack and the amband rifle, which he never got a chance to use because he never got into melee with Din. Um, but this one we had ended up on. Uh, it was VAPS, major offensive, and limited visibility again, which really worked out in my favor. Not having to worry about snipers early on. Uh, barriers an easy way to like not have to avoid that, but still, if I can not have to worry about that the first turn, that's still just nice. Both of my I had one VAP with 1 wound left to put on it, and one fully tapped because of guidance, because I just didn't have to worry about doing something else with Yoda besides just guidancing one of my units to do the objective action. Um, the mistake that we like both talked about in this game afterwards was he was a little too aggressive with his placement of his second VAP. He had the picture is kind of like the brown ground with the green crackling through the mat. It's kind of got like some imperial buildings and some rocky spots with like some crates. One's all the way to the left, which is nice and safe. There's no way I'm getting to that. And then the other one is like right in the center, just behind at like the top, closest to like his edge. So it was he definitely like had put himself in an awkward position. So
You
not that I
think?
ever.
You think he
Oh,
was
go
just
ahead.
trying to? Sorry. Did you think he was just trying to probably rush towards the middle, but also go towards his VAP, get that done, and still try to make his way towards you?
Um, so when we were talking about it, he was he underestimated how I would put my my units. because I've got that giant pillar right next to my deployment, I could just both my VAPs are behind that, so I'm not having to spread out at all to defend my stuff. And so long as I have, because we were both at 800 points, so we did a roll off, and I ended up with blue. And like, unless, so long as I kill something, which he also had scouted a strike team up to his VAP to try to finish it off quickly. It's like, so long as I kill something, I just have to sit back and do what my gun line likes to do, is just be nice and tanky and laugh off your attacks pretty much. Vader did get in there, but again, like, did a similar thing where pulled a, I think it was on turn 4, Vader got into my line. Um, and he had played Fear and Deadman that turn. I had played Yoda's 3 pip. So I had all the tokens again. Um, and just went with Yoda first, guidance, a standby onto the Wookiees that Vader was engaged with, force pushed Vader, and um, just had I think it was still 3 Wookiees left in that squad, and then a full Z6 into Vader's face to finish him off.
Man. So yeah, you guidanced the standby. The standby went off after the force push, and then you shot with the Wookiees, and then fire supported with one of the Z6s.
Yep.
Oh man! So how many dice total was that?
Well, it's a good thing the prize support at the end there. We each got a set of the last OP kits, clear white and red dice. So I now have enough white dice to actually do this because it's 5 blacks, 1 red, and 13 white dice. Uh,
And the Wookiees surge to hit, don't
yep.
they?
Yeah, surge to hit, and Yoda had 2 aims on the card. He had taken an aim before doing the guidance, so it's 3 aims just to make sure that there's no way dice variance is going to go against you, kind of thing.
So did you wind up taking him out that after that shot?
Yeah. Um, Din was still posing a threat because I didn't know what he had in his hand. I didn't know if he had like a whistling birds or something. Because he was just kind of like poking me over top of those rocks in the middle of the board. Um, but after that, I started to get more aggressive, and I was able to kind of kite his stuff to come out from behind the building that was right next to his deployment zone. And then one by one, it was just poke, poke. And I was just, he had the strike team, his officer, and the HH-12 left after that. And I hadn't lost a single unit. I was definitely down models, but I hadn't lost any units at that point.
That's perfect.
Um, yeah.
So I guess, and then so did you win on the kill points then on that one?
Yeah, kill points. Yeah, because we each had the four the 4 victory points from both VAPs. Um,
So if it is a tie with 800, 800, does it still
yeah.
then go to blue player?
So it would go to whoever bid the least, but because we're both 800 points, it would just be an actual tie if no one, if we had the same amount of kill points destroyed, or if nothing had died, then yeah, it would be an actual tie, which would have been weird. So
Yeah, yeah, I don't know, that's weird, but awesome. That's a good win because I feel like that's a tough one. I mean, Vader coming in and then he's right there when you can't attack with Yoda, but
mhm,
I guess even when Yoda can attack, he can still manipulate so much of that army. So
mhm.
he just sounds like one of the best objective players. Period.
He's got a lot of versatility with him. Um, like any, like, so people are asking me like if I felt like I wanted to, if I wanted burst of speed on him, and I told them like there's times where I definitely want it, but there's never a time where I'm willing to give up mind trick on Yoda, because it's either turn 5 and 6. If he can get into position with his 2 pip, he gets relentless. So if he's in range, he's moving relentless force wave to suppression, moving relentless force wave to suppression. Mind trick is the same range, so here's 2 more suppression. And he can force push also. Uh, on the 1 pip, he can do any action or free action twice. So if I'm not in position to Force wave properly, I can move up, mind trick, force push, recover, mind trick, and force push again. And if it's something like key positions, like if I time it right, it's probably 3 to 4 units that aren't scoring that turn.
So, so you mentioned, because I didn't even think about this, with his two pip, you know, I guess it says on his card that you can attack twice, right?
Yeah, he's always able to attack twice.
It's not it's not just melee. It's you can do his other thing. Okay,
Yep.
man. So yeah, having that move relentless, give off some suppression, move relentless suppression, and then another free suppression, or I guess is it? It's two more suppression on someone. That's
Yep.
already six suppression handed out that turn, and then what else did you say afterwards?
And then on a 1 pip, if I can recover, so then I can potentially force push twice. So if
Man,
it's something like key position, it's pretty brutal.
yeah. I guess you just have to be careful on how you play him, and specifically create him as like a the last minute piece, basically.
Yeah, there's a few times like in this game where like you want to go early with Yoda on certain turns, but it's mostly because someone has now come in, and if you don't remove them before they go, then they're going to cause a lot of havoc. Um, uh, or like you need to reposition something so that it will be in range to fire support the Wookiees later on, um, as like your second act. So like there's a couple times where you want to do it, but more often than not, you kind of want to go mid to late in the turn with Yoda. It feels like for me.
Okay. And then your third game that looked
Third
really
game,
interesting.
I've been thinking a lot about this one because this was my one loss for the weekend, and the guy ended up going into second overall. And this was Raul, who was Moff Gideon with no upgrades, three stormtroopers naked, Gav tank with the elite armor pilot, the pintle gun, so red, three whites, and onboard comms channel. And then he had two full dark troopers with the assault cannon, the frag launcher, and the program loyalty. And uh, like the name of my list is underestimated the Wookiees. So uh, by the end of turn one, I had one dark unit down to just the unit leader, and the other one I hadn't been working on because I'd just been trying to focus fire down the one, which it hurt a lot because I lost 2 units that first turn. Still, I
Man.
lost my RPS squad, which was nerve wracking because I need that impact. And I had lost the Boyle squad because he focused Boyle down so I couldn't Guardian the Wookiees. Um, and from their turn two, that one was still on the one because I wasn't really worried about it as a threat at that point. Was working on the other one at this point, and I had it down by the end of turn two. It was down to just the assault cannon and the unit leader,
Okay, that's not bad.
and I hadn't lost anything that turn. Um, my maybe like a couple models from a couple squads, but overall, like I hadn't lost any more activations. Um, Turn three had the Yoda's 1 pip, so Yoda charged in and killed the last heavy on it. So killed the assault cannon, the second dark trooper unit. Um, it had already gone once, went a second time, and disengaged. So that was fine with me at that point because most of his stuff is pretty small dice pools except for the Gav tank. Um, but at that point, Yoda already had a dodge on him. So, um, like for making the attack, because each time Yoda makes an attack, he gains a dodge. Each time he defends, he gains an aim. Um, which is really great for the 3-pip too. If someone decides to, it's like, okay, here, give my Wookiees more power, please.
Yep,
uh,
because
yeah,
anytime he defends, he's going to gain that aim, so it'd
yep.
be perfect.
Um, at this point, the more I think about it, because his hostage has gone away pretty far. And there's three pictures in the slideshow about like this game in particular, because it was a bloody game. It's kind of on like a medieval board. There you can see the Dark Troopers riding up in the Gav on one of them, which that was, I knew it was coming, and that was still nerve wracking. I didn't really bother deploying behind too much cover because I already knew I wasn't really going to gain cover from anything because of those Dark Troopers. Um, and after, so turn four, I should have probably started to think about turning back around with Yoda, because my Yoda at that point was focused on trying to get rid of his hostage carrier. Um, and turn four, my hostage carrier ended up dying, and I had gotten to a position to be able to claim it, potentially on turn five, but it would depend on pips and roll off and whatnot. But turn four, I also had Gideon down, and I wasn't in my head doing the math on kill points. Um, and I was just mostly focused on trying to make sure that he couldn't score his objective, and I should have just been worrying about scoring mine.
I mean,
Um,
that's still a hard
oh
decision to
yeah,
make.
yeah, it was very nerve wracking. 'Cause- yeah,
Yeah, because running in towards darks is not fun.
no,
Um, and I did see this guy play on one of the streams that
yeah,
Yavin
he
Base was
was
doing,
game one of day two. He was on there.
and it was interesting because I think he might have tried to do the onboard comm channel to give an order to the darks, but the issue was that he had programmed loyalty on them, so I don't think he was allowed to use onboard's comm channel to give an order to the darks.
Uh, yeah, no, you got that right. I wasn't even thinking about that, but that totally makes sense that he wouldn't be able to.
And
Um,
I think they even tried it on the cast. I think they wound up catching it after like a round or two.
mm, okay. I don't think it would have made much of a difference in our game, just because of the one that I eliminated or had down to the unit leader was the one in the Gav anyways. So like after like round two, it disembarked anyway, so it wasn't like not super influential in our game, except for like that first turn it having an order which I should have seen coming, but he had pinned down, which removed the token from my RPS squad, so it couldn't fire support turn one, which that was definitely a that had me a little nervous having that go first. Um,
Was he able to get that Gideon's 3 pip for the fire support with the tank at all? Did he do that?
he did that was turn two, um, but at that point I was able to. Did I do there? So yeah, that was turn two, and I had given my order to the one Wookiee unit that was still full, and they had been able to uh, get some decent damage in there. So it was still like could deal a decent punch, but it wasn't to the same. I think it was down to of the regular guys, so it just had the heavies and the unit leader left. And when he was fire supporting with that one, the blast gun, the frag launcher was tapped from the previous turn. So I actually had a little bit of cover on that one, which was very. I'll take what I can get
What
because
was I
he
say
fire
that?
supported the Gav with that, and it was.
And I know that Gav tank with that range 1 to 4, it's still some pretty good dice.
Oh yeah, and I mean he had the or the was it the armor pilot, so surge to hit on all those dice, and then the critical one for one of them. It was yeah, I didn't like staring down that barrel. Um, and if I had so pretty much if I had like realized that I should have just been worrying about mine hostage more on turn four at that point, um, I should have started to move back probably. with Yoda because Yoda had run out to get to those Dark Troopers that were just left on the with the two guys. Um, I could have probably done it in such a way where I could still have gotten my hostage back because turn 5 comes around and we had to do a. I won the pip because Gideon was dead at this point and he only had standing orders left, it seemed. Um, and which I'm not sure. No, yeah, I guess he just had Sultan. Like, no, he had a Sultan standing orders left, and I had played a 2 pip, so I was able to go first. And um, I had 3 orders left in my stack. I had 2 special forces and a core, and only thing I need to draw is the special forces, and I'm good. And I draw a core, the 1 out of 3 chance. Um,
And there's no room for improvised orders, is there?
no, there's really nothing that can be dropped that would make it worth it. Um, yeah, it's like if I just wanted to die, I could drop the medic down to just a generic clone, but then I'm losing on bring back something. It's not sadly not worth it. Um,
It's already you feel like it's already thin enough with 8 acts and because Yoda's just so expensive and those Wookiees.
um, and so then he got to go to his stack, and he had either his gaff tank was in the stack, or he had played standing orders this turn. So he either had the gaff tank in the stack, or he had his 1 unit of storms that were threatening my hostage that was in the open now, or available to be claimed. And if he draws his core, 1 moves in, claims. And Echo was able to move, or was able to shoot them, and he took them down to just the unit leader. Oh, no, this had to be turn 4. No, that was turn 4 because that would have been because Gideon was still alive because I had decided that Gideon's going to come and kill the Ark. So my only chance here is to shoot the storm that now has my hostage, try to thin them out. So and they only had 1 guy left. I then moved in with them because I had 3 turns left or 2 turns left at this point, and each time I tried to take care of them, my hostage, the storm would get to go first, take a dodge. For whatever reason, I couldn't just get this guy to die. The
And
storm that would not die.
that is
Um,
why y'all need high velocity.
yeah.
Republic needs high velocity, and that could have been stopped.
Well, at this point, I'm in melee, so
Okay, okay, okay.
that I didn't want to disen. I came down to it. Either I have to disengage, leave him open, so possibly I can shoot him and kill him with a Wookiee unit, and then something else can come in, grab the hostage. Um, but the Gav was just sitting there ready, like one way or the other, I'm gonna do something here. You're gonna lose something. Um, and so yeah, that the Gav, because I had to ignore it, I had to take care of the darks, ended up being like a really key thing at the very end there. Um, Yoda ended up dying turn 6. It was the only time Yoda died. Um, but yeah, no, it's and he was even saying it's like, yeah, no, I made a mistake ignoring those Wookiees. He wasn't ready for it because it was like 1 shot, 2 wound or 3 wounds. Because they would block 1 and it would get pierced, and it was like a model each shot would come off, and it was yeah, it was gross.
Well, all right. Well, that sounds like an intense game because I mean, there's things that you're forced to do and forced to make, and it just kind of makes a tougher game that way.
It was yeah, it was definitely sweating. But it was no, it was a lot of fun though. Good guy. Um, he'd come up from Virginia, so he had a long drive himself.
'Cause,
uh,
I was gonna say how that was probably a what 6 hour drive
yeah, I think
maybe.
it was like 4 hour drive for him. He was saying
Okay, that's not bad.
trying to get around DC and whatnot.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
traffic.
it's awful.
Well, nice.
Um,
And then so you had another game, and that
yep. So
one
that was the end of day 1.
oh okay.
Um, so day 2. Um, got to play against a kid named Marcus. Um, I don't have any pictures of this game because um, it was. Uh, I'm not really sure why I didn't have any pictures of this game, but we were playing on a kind of like Sith temple table. Ended up being recover and danger close and hostile environment, and he was bringing in Anakin and Rex with a Z6 clone, two naked phase ones, two RPS phase ones, and two of the melee Wookiees with tenacity and the battle shield. He was pretty new to Legion. He's a younger kid, but he still played decently. Like he did pretty good. He had little hiccups here and there, but overall he was definitely putting on the hurt. Um, his Anakin and Rex were definitely making me nervous because Rex took 9 dice with Pierce 1, like 9 wounds to save against with Pierce 1, and he only took 3 wounds.
Man, yeah, that
So,
red dice is really helping him out then.
um, and it was, yeah, that was, it's like, oh, this is how we're doing this. So I took another shot. Rex died on the second shot, but he was able to go and pull off air support. He did his thing. He scouting partied one of the Wookiee warriors up, so they were still pretty close. Um, turn one, Echo was able to get a lucky wound in early on Anakin, who just had push and throw. Um,
Now, with Scouting Party, is that only for clones, or can he actually do it with
oh,
Wookiees too?
anything. Yeah, it's just two friendly trooper units, range 1 to 2.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a sounds like a intense moment there, because
Yeah,
being able to get, if he had recon to get that scout too, like you're saying, it that moves him pretty fast.
yeah. I was definitely focused on trying to take out his heroes in this one, just because I wanted to eliminate the command hand and not have to worry about the things that those cards can do. Unfortunately, Anakin got all of his cards off, but I was able to keep him suppressed enough where he was getting only like one action. I got to play his flaw, so that really hurt him when he played his 2 pip and didn't get the defend one right away. Um, but Anakin would not die. He went till like turn 5 and he was saving like 5 for 6, 5 for 6. And then he saved like not or like 9 for 9. It's like, what is going on here?
I guess, did he spend any of those surges for defense, or just kind of share
He
them?
spent a couple, but he had like no, like he wasn't taking dodges or anything for the most part. He was just natural saves, just shields for the most part. Maybe a surge here or there, but that was it. Um, and the Wookiees in the meantime are just minding their own business, just walking on up, just coming to get me.
What'd you
Um,
do for those Wookiees? Did you get, I guess, your Wookiees on them?
I've eventually I got rid of one of the Wookiees, um, but I was definitely more. I did not want to get an Anakin fire support in my face, so I was doing everything I could just to make sure I didn't have to worry about that. It took to like turn 4 finally after he. I don't even know how many saves it ended up actually being, but it was probably like because he only. I think he failed 7 total saves, and it was probably so he was probably like 24 for like 31 or something like that. It was
That's just the name of the
intense.
game. All you got to do is roll
Yep.
good. Just roll good.
Yep. Um, and like so it was a good kind of like teaching thing for him too because we had talked about it later at the end there. It's like what could he have done? And pretty much he was right in the center, so he was in a good threatening spot. Um, and it's kind of a hindsight thing with like how well he's saving. but he's still getting shot where he was. He wasn't in line of sight blocking cover, he was just in heavy cover, and the center box was just a little bit further to his side, and that was still gonna be heavy cover, so it's like telling him, "Was like, hey, if you just went there, you're now threatening that, and I am now really having to think about how do I stop you from getting that instead of just relying on hoping your dice finally fail." um, I if we had gone to turn 6, I probably would have collected one of his boxes because he started to get a little bit more aggressive with one of his RPS squads that had one of the boxes. So Yoda probably would have just like jumped over and swiped them a bunch. Um, that was like another thing that we talked about afterwards. But yeah, no, overall, good kid. I look forward to seeing him at other events. Uh,
Yeah, it's nice to see all of these, kids and just younger people playing Legion, and even the people who aren't, truly experienced or playing for years, still going to these tournaments and learning a lot.
oh yeah. My last game was probably if tied for the most stressful game, and that would be because this was with Sean, who was the other Yoda player. We had very different list constructions. He had the whole like assortment of different phase ones. You had a DC-15 phase one, an RPS phase one, or the shotgun phase one with the range 2 Pierce one. He had two Z6 phase twos with targeting scopes. He had a Padme with situational and prepared supplies. He had a clone commander with lead by example and portable scanner to really charge up Yoda and Padme. And then Yoda, like me, didn't have any command upgrades, but he had force barrier and push. But he went for reflexes, where I went for mind trick. Um, and in this game, we opted to do um, payload, major offensive, and supply drop. And this is the one where we're playing on the lava table. Uh, and right on the far right side of this picture, you can see two kind of orange, or you see one orange base tower, and then right above it, you can see a little bit of another one. So he had selected or his destination for my payload to be the rock just a little bit over. And because I figured that was going to be the furthest thing for him, and it made it easy, or it would make it easier for me to worry about both. I opted for the little bit of the building that was part of our board that was just past it. Um, and pretty much it was down to the wire. He's the one person that did not underestimate my Wookiees. He made sure to make a point of trying to get rid of them. Um, he's the only one that killed both units of Wookiees.
It
Um,
makes sense. I mean, I guess you're both
yeah.
about to be not toilet bowling, but you're about to, I guess, cross paths, and to get rid of that melee threat, especially the Wookiees, is a good idea. Unless did y'all like avoid each other by chance?
Uh, no, I pretty much was hiding behind like this fuel canister. I had my boil squad had scouted out at the little like sticking out portion of the major offensive deployment for me, just to collect the box that was right next to my deployment, so that in case like I drew something that would be helpful later on and later parts of the game, and he had balled up right next to his cart, I knew they were fine because he only had one range 4 threat. Um, and I doubted that he was going to have um, uh, air support in there with having Padme and Yoda. Um, so pretty much, Boyle was just walking my cart back through my deployment, nice and safe, all the way up to the rock. We only got to turn 5, but I was able to score 2 points to and stop him from scoring any, because I was able to turn what was it? Turn 4, I was able to stop his cart back enough to where he wasn't able to get any range. Um, but yeah, no, it was nuts. It was very nice though, not having to explain Yoda's cards to another player. We were both making that joke all the time. It's like, hey, I know this card. That seems familiar.
I was about to say, I guess he had a really good understanding of like what you were probably going to do as well, and
Mhm.
you probably had an understanding of what he was going to want to play, especially with him because he was the Yoda gun line, and yours like the Yoda slash gun line, but mostly melee in a way.
Well, I just have the shooty Wook. So my Wookiees don't have a charge or duelist. Their whole thing, like they've got Sharpshooter 1, which is just universally good now. Um, and just focusing on like the Pierce 1. Um,
'Cause you had the bowcasters and all of them.
yep. So yeah, like Boyle didn't play like a big guardian role, but he was very pivotal because he just refused to die at the end there. Um, and like I was talking about, like at the beginning, like with my list, like Echo has environmental gear. So at the very end, I was able to double move Echo across difficult terrain to get him into range 1 of my bomb cart, breaking the tie out of my bomb cart so mine could move into score. Because he had also played Yoda's 2 pip and had bum rushed his DC 15 squad around and kind of was trying to chase down Boyle, dealt them a good amount of damage. They were alive on like 2 Boyle and 1 other guy. And they were able to. So, but we're both tied 1-1 on mine. His cart was pretty much leaning towards he was now going to have control of it again. Um, and Echo then had to run in to give some support to deal some wounds to the stuff that was pushing his cart forward. The previous turn was then just able to double back, run over the difficult terrain. He took a shot at the DC 15 squad just because he's got Relentless this turn. And um, but regardless, he was just there just to break the tie and was able to get it into that point to score. And that ended up being essentially what would win me the game. Um, between him stopping his card and Echo just getting his leg work out at the end there.
And I was gonna say that Boyle sounds really fantastic with Wookiees because being able to guardian that Wookiee with red dice than having to have their white dice. And yeah, so besides the survivability, he sounds like he's great with Wookiees.
Yeah, no, he's definitely like he's great all around, but if you're gonna bring Wookiees and it's gonna be the Kashyyyk Defender ranged Wookiees, absolutely bring Boyle.
You would recommend the bowcaster over the suppressive long range. Yes.
Yeah, it's just really an awkward gun because I think it's only
It's too black, I think.
yeah, it's just 2 black. It's range 4, so and it's suppressive.
You do have the sharpshooter,
So
which kind of helps, and the suppressive I feel like helps. But if you're looking for the pierce and you're trying to get rid of stuff, I feel like the bowcaster is better. But I just wasn't sure if you had a preference of pierce over suppressive, or maybe the bowcaster over something.
I think Pierce overall is going to be really important right now, just because like the general consensus, if you go on the Legion Discord, is red save, red save, red save. That is king. So
That's
anything that can get rid
Yep.
of those.
That's why I don't play rebels. And if I do have to play white dice, it's going to be either the Wookiees because they've got 3 health each, or the Pikes because they have built-in outmaneuver. So that's about it.
Um, yeah. So I mean, speaking of rebels, yeah, the rebels were the second largest showing for ACO. Gar was first with 9, Rebels had 8, then Empire 7, Separatist 5, and Mercenaries or Shadow Collective 3. But Rebels, the highest ranked Rebel, was 17th overall.
Ow. Uh,
Um,
Especially with so
and
many of them being there, you would think,
mm,
top 10, but 17th.
yeah, I mean, she had a crazy list. She was definitely making everybody nervous day one because she had tabled her first opponent and was like causing havoc. She was running Leia Chewie Quad Ton, like Echo Base. And so it was a lot for people to deal with. And yeah, no. Yeah, top eight was not super diverse. I mean, it had everything but Rebels, but the top uh, winner Austin from Florida. There you go.
Woo,
uh,
Florida!
is was playing Separatists with Asajj and Cad Bane. Then there was Raul
Was
with
a really good
his
list too.
yeah.
Like the way that he wound up going after Vader with, Cad. I guess Cad got into, or Vader got in contact with Cad. He tried to go after him, but then Asajj just force pushed him out, got into base contact with him, and was last first 16 dice into him and just knocked him silly.
Oh, okay. I haven't even like watched the game yet, so I don't even know what happened in that game.
Oh yeah, that was good. I mean, he lost Vader not quick, but yeah, Vader tried to storm in and go after Cad, but then um, he was based Cad, and then I think there was another unit of the Magnas. I think were based as well, and then in order to get him out of that, so Asajj could go, he moved Asajj up, and then forced pushed Vader into melee with her, and then attacked with the 8 dice, and then he played her 1 pip, and then the other guy played Vader's Implacable, and they had a roll off, and Asajj won, which killed Vader, and then it was just all downhill from there.
Goodness. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that back for sure. Um, yeah, I did. Oh man, I didn't realize which Chris this was that was in the top three here. Because yeah, the top. So it's Austin with the Saj Cad Bane. It's Raul and then Christopher, both with double darks, but Raul had the Gaff tank. So and Christopher had the Remnant Battle Force double dark. And then John coming in with Blizzard Force or Commander Vader Blizzard Force. So now you've got 3 Empires in the top 8 so far, and then you've got Sam, who just beat me out with Strength of Schedule for Top Gar.
Man,
um, he had Anakin and R2, I believe, and had a whole bunch of like
and
range
R2?
threat. I believe I'll have to double check that, but
Wow, I was about to say I
that's
haven't
what it
seen like
was.
an Anakin R2 list ever.
Let's see. I'll
Usually when I
use.
think of like Anakin, I'm thinking they're either going full hard with the gun line, or maybe Anakin's somewhat of a support piece because of Exemplar. But other than that, I've never heard. That's cool.
So he had C3PO on there, so I'm guessing he was probably throwing the tokens onto Anakin, so Anakin share them out. Which I mean, that's still pretty good. I mean, he's also got endurance on Anakin, so he's already gonna not have to worry about that suppression. Oh yeah, yeah, he's got a lot of arcs, so he's definitely enjoying that discount on arcs.
He had
uh,
the full squads of arcs.
yeah, he had a full squad. Both had situational. Both had jetpacks. But Echo was in one, Fives was in the other, and that one had HQ uplink. And then he had a DC-15 strike team. He had a phase 2 with a scanner, an RPS, phase 1 with a medic, or the shotgun, phase 1. Man, there was 2 shotgun phase 1s here. Also with the clone medic, so that's a pretty tanky list. It's also 8 activations, 799. So yeah, he just beat me out on strength schedule. There's myself, then Steve, who was on stream day one. I think he was game. Yeah, he was game 3 with the Mandos.
I was so hoping for those Mandos to do well, but I think
uh,
I don't think going after that tank and all that other stuff he was up against, the Mandos with those rockets and the PK droids being able to heal that tank is
hey, he won that game. He pulled it out. Um,
he. That's amazing to see that these Mandos are actually like doing well, especially with the low act lists against these super high act lists.
mhm. Yeah, so that was Steve was in there, and then John, one of the other people from Glorious Blasters, took the final slot in the top eight, but was also playing Republic. So the top eight were was effectively 7 red saves and a droid and a droid army.
The
Because
Droid Army had so many activations, which I think helps
yeah,
make up for that red lack of red saves.
yeah, for sure. But that's a crazy top eight: 3 Empire, 3 Republic, a Shadow Collective, and a Separatist.
See, I'm happy to see that Republic is up there because they are so good, especially with few acts. They're so good, which blows my mind because in my mind, I think 9 is the best minimum, but your list itself, the other Gar list with 8 acts, it just goes to show that with Gar is the exception with low act lists because of the token sharing and because of the amount of like synergy they have all with each other. But I wouldn't, replicate that with Empire or CIS, especially anything with red die saves. But it's awesome that these new games, especially how Legion has evolved, going from you'd see 10, 11, 12 act lists, and now you're seeing 8 and 9, and I think the pass mechanic has helped with that. But
Oh yeah. Yes, I think I used that in almost every game, at least once. I think the only time I didn't was the last game, because I didn't get a chance to. But
and I'm
other than
assuming you're
that,
probably using it early in the rounds and then early in the game.
yep. Oftentimes I'm using it like turn one because I'm playing the 3-pip. I have tokens. Um, I don't need to go. I don't want to go and push myself out of range of like the different bubbles that I have set up. So I was like, yep, nope, I'll play this. I have my tokens. I'm good to go. How about you go?
I'm unfamiliar with Gar because I've just never played them, and I fully admit that I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to that. So when it comes to bubbles, and because you obviously you benefit from being at range 1 from each other, and Yoda benefits from being at range 1 to 2 because guidance I think is range 1 to 2,
Yep.
and even with his 3-pip, that's also range 1 to 3 I think. Um, they so how do you like to deploy Republic? I mean, you have to be careful because it's similar to CIS, but it's not the exact same because you're trying to share tokens and you're trying to specifically put pieces in the bubbles, I guess, in certain areas. Is there formations that you particularly like for Gar?
For the most part, I'm normally kind of like, especially now that I have Boyle, I'm normally just putting Boyle down first so that with his Scout 1, he can just go out a little bit, not so that he can get ahead of everyone, but just to make a little bit more room so that everything can get as close up to range 3 as early as possible. Because outside of Echo and the RPS, I don't have anything longer than range 3. Um, so yeah, doing that, and then also, I mean, I got to worry about the range 1 effect of the medic and Boyle himself. So like between those two things, and the nice thing about at least the bubble with the guidance from Yoda is like barrier and force push and mind trick. I don't need line of sight. Um, so it gives you a lot more flexibility. But normally I'm putting all my clones down first. Sometimes in various different like orders outside of Boyle going first. Um, but Echo kind of like will fit in here or there depending on like what objective I'm playing. Um, for the most part, I'm doing a clone ball of some sort. The only time I really didn't were my games on day 2. Like you can see in the last picture on the lava planet, um, like Boyle is at one end. The naked phase ones are kind of right in the middle, and they had the same objective: is just go double tap the box that was there just to see what they could grab to stop him also from getting Bacta. Unfortunately, he drew a Bacta, but he didn't get to use it, thankfully. Um, and just do that to get things that might benefit the rest of the army before looping back around. joining up with everyone. And then Boyle's pretty much the same thing, but he's just gonna walk it up because until we like really are getting close, I'm not worried about getting swamped on mine because everything is blocking him with the range bands and the threats from the Wookiees and the Z6 that's mixed in there with the Wookiees. Um, and Echo is out a little bit further so that in case he goes the other way with his bomb cart, I can already have something up that's just got a nice, easy line of sight straight into his deployment as he comes in to try to like get through my deployment almost to get to his his position that needs to get his cart to. But other than that, for the most part, I'm normally trying to find like a singular piece of cover that I'm looking for and then flex around it. Um, but
Sure, if maybe you you found a path, you see the path, and then you kind of clone ball yourself to go into that because you can't spread yourself thin. Like with Empire, I like indoor with Shadow Collective having kind of almost two separate armies in case I have to split or have to do something like that. But I know with clones you gotta stay. So I just wasn't sure if maybe you see a path and then you try to clone ball it so that you can run through it. And the other thing was, you not scared of the Courage one of those of the phase ones by themselves, kind of far away?
um, not in the last game because he only had the one range 4 threat. So if he was going to shoot me, it was probably only going to be once, which is going to go at the way of the end of the round. So then at the same time, then so long as they go first, they're going to double move. They're now in position for the next time for the cart to go further. They're pretty much in line of sight blocking for the most part, or at least heavy cover. So I'm going to lose a model or two, but I'm not going to lose the unit. Um, and with payload, which is one of the one is pretty much the only objective I normally don't want
And I saw
because of
so many payloads, so many games. I think there was at least 2 to 3 games on the stream that were payload.
oh wow oh no I need to go back and watch those games. Um, but it's pretty much the only one that I don't want because of how I build Yoda. Because payload's the only one that panic doesn't matter. Because you can be panicked and still push the bomb cart. You just have to be at range 1 of it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You would think that, especially with clones, they would want the payload because of they have to all be together, and it would just be easier to move the payload. But yeah, I guess that makes sense with suppression, and you're kind of built on suppression in a way with Yoda.
And that last game was the only game where if it had gone to a tie, I would lose on kill points. Or lost on kill points. That was the only game where I actually lost more of my army than I dealt out. Because I had 2 games where I didn't lose a single unit. I lost lots of models. I didn't have much left on the board, but I did not lose a single unit. Um, so like it's got it's got legs. It's definitely deserving of the name that I gave it.
Yeah, those Wookiees, you gotta watch out for them.
hmm they are not something to be laughed at.
And so,
Um,
so the rest of the weekend, after that final game, I guess you kind of hung out a little bit and or watched some
yeah,
of the other stuff.
helped out with cleanup. Um, end of night or day one, like we'd all like a bunch of us had gone out to have or dinner at one of the restaurants in the casino, and then uh, some of them had left, and the rest of us had like gone out and just like hung out some more. So it was just I never really got. I used to play X Wing. I never got to play it long enough to really have a huge experience with that tournament crowd. I did at the very end when I stopped playing X Wing. Um, where it's great community. It's definitely from what I've heard from everyone that has left certain other games and come over to Star Wars games that the communities are just always fantastic. You just have a blast hanging out with people. Um, we were kind of making a joke about how, for whatever reason, Legion seems to be much more of a golf game, and X-Wing seems to be more of like a football game. Because when things happen in X-Wing, and you'll hear it on the streams, people are cheering and going nuts. But when people are standing around watching a Legion game, everyone's just going around doing golf claps.
I mean, it's an intense strategy game. There's so much to think
Yeah,
about during that. And I've never played X Wing, so I don't know if it's like, just super aggressive the whole time or.
it's more so it's like, oh, I wouldn't do that move because it's all locked into your dial. So you have to set it, and if you set the right maneuver and you get the flank on someone who thought you were going to go a different way and you like looped around them, um, it's like there's like big swingy moments that you can't get in Legion because of how um like that's partially you could say like you might have been able to with the bikes and things like that because they move so fast, they can move 3 times and whatnot, they can flank pretty easily. Um, but I think it's you could probably kind of bring it down to the fact that our movement templates move and the X-wing ones are static. So it's either it's gonna work or it's not gonna work. Legion's like, nah, I got wiggle room. It's much Legion's much more focused on the dice rolls and with the influx of how like attack dice affect the number of defense dice, whereas except for like a couple situations like range and if it's blocked in X-wing, it's very much like what's in your card is what you will always get, and at most you're getting 5 dice on one end, pretty much. Whereas like we were saying with one of my shots, it's 13 white dice by itself before the other dice.
Yeah, that's one thing I've really liked about Legions. The amount of dice just differ, but it's gotten bigger, I feel like, over the years.
Oh yeah.
Like, in the very, very beginning, you're looking at 4 or 5, maybe like with the Z6, maybe the 10, and you're not surging. But now you've got the Black Suns, you've got fire support, there's so much that goes on. So it's crazy to see the amount of dice that can be rolled at once in Legion.
Mhm. Yeah, my dice tray might need to be bigger next time. It was the dice didn't necessarily roll; they just kind of landed because they bumped off each other and just kind of stopped when I did those shots.
That's awesome though. Like
Yeah.
it's so cool to
I
see.
yeah, I had a great time. Brendan did a great job. Um, I had a lot of fun. I was when I lost the game on Saturday, I was like, you know what? I took the moral victory. I killed both dark troopers. I will take my loss, and I'll be happy about it. And I am still. I know what I did. I could make adjustments from there. And at first, I'm like, okay, cool. I don't have to stress anymore. I get to relax now and just have fun. And then realizing, oh no, the Yoda card from the store kit is available, and it's only for the top 8. No, I have to stress again.
I guess you have to bribe one of the Empire players to get that card now.
Oh, well, no. So the store kit it is 4 different languages, but it's 8 sets. The top 8 each get every single commander or operative card, except for the Boba for first place. So every one of the top 8 got the Yoda alt art, the operative Vader, Grievous, Garth Saxon, and operative Chewbacca for Rebels. So we all got those 5 cards for the top 8. Um, it's a really nice card. I mean, I feel like I'm probably going to stick with Yoda, and I don't think I'm going to make it to one of those regional events to try to get that Anakin card. So, so I'll be sticking with that card very happily for a while.
As you should. It sounds really nice. Oh. Well, yeah, man. That sounds like a wonderful weekend and a great time. Are there any other tournaments soon that you're planning on going to?
I'll be going to a store tournament next this Saturday coming up, actually, also in Jersey, and then in July I've got another store champ that I'm going to. After
LVO or anything like that?
the next big one I'm gonna go to is I'll be at Crucible in in Florida.
I was about to say the cruise. I was looking at that, and I'm gonna see if I can. And it's like what September, late September, like October 1st kind of deal.
Yeah, it's like the right at the crossover kind of thing.
It's only about 4 hours from where I am, so yeah, that'd be really cool to go and check out everybody, and maybe even not live stream, but just do like a few videos or whatever and put it up. But that'd be really cool to see you and everyone else there.
Yeah, that would be great to meet in person. Um, I will be driving down there because my wife hates flying. So we're
How
going
long?
down like 2 days early.
Okay.
So it's like I'll have a chance to rest up a little. Um, but yeah, we're gonna make a trip out of it. We're gonna go to Universal and stuff. So it's just a great time. And I met Jordan at PAX last year, Luminous Gaming. He's a great guy. So I look forward to supporting him. Um, Getting down there. But yeah, no, it's I can't wait. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can go because that'll be cool to see you guys and get a chance to play with y'all like in person. So
If you don't make the top four of each day, Sunday is a doubles tournament. So there's two different like tournaments essentially. You've got or Heat one on Friday. So the top four of that day will go to Sunday, and then a 32 Heat on Saturday, and the top four from that will also go to Sunday for the top eight. And if you don't make the top eight, there's also going to be a simultaneous doubles tournament going on.
so I guess there's still more to do.
There's still
Like
something for you to do. Uh,
I was wondering how many games you would wind up playing, regardless if you wind up losing them all. Because I don't know if I'm gonna wind up losing them all, but I'll probably lose them all. And thinking about just kind of like what else would be there to do, because it seems like it. I mean, Crucible. Where's that being held at again? And
it it's right outside of Universal. Yeah, it's in I can't remember what hotel it is, but yeah, it's like literally like walking distance to Universal from what I understand. um, and yeah, no, it'll be good. Yeah, because it's paired up with a convention that I think I think it's called Crucible, or that just might be the tournament side of it. I'm not 100% at this moment,
yeah, it was like
but
Crucible and something else. But yeah, no, that's cool. Um,
yeah.
no, well, awesome, man. I'm glad that you've got a lot of stuff lined up, and I'm assuming you're going to be playing the Yoda list then.
Definitely this weekend I'm gonna be playing it. I'll probably still be playing it by then. I don't imagine anything else to change, and there's so many variations with how the list has to play turn by turn that never. It has yet to feel like a stale list for me. I'm always having to think and adjust, and not like this is. Even though this is what I do every turn, each turn is still feels drastically different.
Yeah, there's so many other things that you got to make sure that you're looking out for with every other list. Because I mean, you've got a good idea of how to play it and kind of what you're going up against, but each player kind of plays someone different and might throw some wild card out there. But yeah, don't fix something that's not broken. And you've got
Yep.
a good list, and Yoda being able to like stand by with those Wookiees, move those Wookiees, and do so much with them. And man, it just sounds like a really wonderful list and a really cool, time.
It is a lot of fun.
Well, cool, man. I think we'll wrap it up there, and I know we'll have another talk and discussion soon. But congrats, man. That's awesome. Going forward, one second best guard player. Wait.
Yeah, second bus car.
Yeah, yeah. So tons of good stuff for you. That's a high ranking thing, and
Yeah,
that's a huge accomplishment.
yeah. It's the best I've ever done, so it was a lot of fun.
Well, I'm excited to see more, and hopefully I'll be able to meet you in September and October in
Yeah,
Orlando. And well, yeah, thanks to everybody for watching. Thank you, Graham, for having this interview. I really, really appreciate it. Being able to talk to someone who is doing so well in tournaments, it's really cool to see, and that you're a part of the Discord and everything else, and that you're so active in Legion. And the fact that this community, like you said, and that I've seen, is really nice to each other. So it's cool.
absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, all right, guys. I'm out. This is Shadow Scout and Canadian Bear. Um, Anything else that you'd like to say, just for anything, or?
No. If you're going to be one of those tournaments I talked about, I will see you there. Um, don't listen to anything I said this whole time. Ignore the Wookiees. The Wookiees mean you no harm. But that's about it.
They're just tall, fluffy teddy bears.
I
That's all.
just want to give you hugs.
Big
That's it.
Wookie peeling you apart hugs.
Yes.
Well, all right, guys. Y'all have a good rest of your day, and I appreciate it again, Graham. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, guys.